Ah, right point. Yep, we didn't do that yet. Then let me let everyone in before I do that. Hi there. Everyone in? Okay, thank you for your patience, and it's our practice to set aside a little time at the beginning of each meeting for folks to address the board generally. So I would ask if anyone would like to do that at this point. I'll ask you to hang on and try and make it as brief as possible, not more than 2 or 3 minutes. Also, I want to urge everybody, this is not a time for crosstalk among yourselves. You're here to address the board. We're here to listen to you individually, so thank you. All right, and I heard a voice behind me, so I am guessing someone back here.
Hello.
Yeah, okay.
So Tanya Garment, Wirt Street. I'll briefly touch on Tubby Row. Tubby Row, they decided a few months ago, might have been the reason for this attorney-client thing, to dismiss the case and seal it. And as far as I understand, I don't think we had any city representation there. I think it's a really good example of what might need to change in the way that we uphold our laws in the city of Kingston. And I hope that you guys will use that in the future when you think about how it is we lose our important historic resources, such as an independently landmarked building that's in the brochure of Friends of Historic Kingston and even state brochures. I wanted to talk about the special planning board meeting on Monday for the Kingstonian. And the HLPC voted to give feedback regarding the seeker, whether it should be a positive or negative declaration of environmental impact, or rather in this case, what might have an impact and what to consider for the planning board. And as an interested agency, they have every right to do that. The 30-day window was up, and the 20-day window where the developers had every right to have the process go forward had started. So it was not guaranteed that the decision would not be made. So they really did the right thing by making a letter of their response regarding the seeker. In the seeker handbook, it says, involved agencies, it says, before the lead agency has made a determination of a significance, all remaining involved agencies should make certain the lead agency understands the extent of the involved agency's jurisdiction and provide the lead agency with observations and concerns about the proposed action and its potential environmental impact, so the lead agency may consider them in making a determination of significance. That's from the seeker handbook. You can find it online very easily, and I really hope that you do take a look at the seeker handbook. And can involved agency influence the determination of significance of the lead agency? Yes, and involved agencies are encouraged to submit comments during the coordination period. The comments that deal with the agency's specific area of interest or jurisdiction are especially appropriate. However, there is no provision in seeker that guarantees that the lead agency will make a particular determination of significance. The HLPC did not put them at risk. And a bit what recourse, and afterwards, what recourse does an involved agency have if it has participated in the EIS process, but its concerns have been ignored and it adequately addressed? There's stuff to read about that. And so an HLPC can write their own negative, anyway, every right to make comments, and it was really the thing to do at that point. Time was of the essence. We had not gotten a timeline from planning. In fact, a few days earlier, Suzanne Cahill had confirmed at HAC meeting that they could theoretically make a decision at the next meeting. And I hope as new members of the HLPC that you really take it under consideration that there's a lot to learn in terms of the process. Don't just take Corporation Council's word for it, do your own research. And I wanted to just finish up with, at the planning board, it was determined that they would not look at this letter. But they looked at SHPO's letter, and they're an interested agency. As an involved agency, that letter was voted on, and it was helped be written by a preservationist. These letters have, if you look back on the Niagara Bottling Company and what Riverkeeper wrote, they wrote a letter that was much more strongly worded, and it had a real influence, and that's the way the process should work. They're the lead agency, the planning board, but they're not the only agency. And if you decide to write a letter now, realistically, it's too late. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, I'm going to declare the public comment period closed, and we'll start in with old business. 39 Broadway. Scott.
Good evening. My name is Scott Dutton. I reside at 19 Canfield Street. I'm here this evening representing a property owner. The applicant is requesting permission to paint the ground floor of the Skilly Pot building. In your packet, you have a glossy photograph of the existing conditions. It was taken about 3 weeks ago. A photo simulation of the color scheme that they are proposing. It should be taking the scheme from a 3-color scheme to a 2-color scheme. We also have samples of the 2 colors that are being requested.
Scott, did you switch this? Yeah, okay. Just want to make sure.
You see why a larger sample of it shows it was a little fleshy.
Yeah, okay.
On the small sample, it wasn't
Okay.
quite as.
So we're,
I can send that around.
okay.
The one that's pinkish, AF 250, we have substituted with AF 20. The black color remains the same.
Master tone. Is this also from the, I guess it is, from the Affinity Collection?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
And the other one wasn't, right? This, I don't know.
Benjamin Moore, but Benjamin Moore has changed up
Yeah,
their
yeah.
collections,
Yeah,
and so it's Nightfall. And
It's
there's a
just
number on the
Nightfall,
back.
yeah, yeah. It's just
1500
Nightfall.
and something.
Yeah, it's not from a specific collection.
Correct.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay.
And the intent here is to simplify the overall color scheme.
Okay.
It goes, the other thing you brought us last time was the side building, right? Didn't we
That
have
that was
Well, it was
sign
on
on side,
right.
Side Street,
Yeah.
yeah.
same address,
Right.
39 Broadway, but
But that will it'll all coordinate. You're changing that too? So that's totally different.
that's different. Has a different massing to it. Just the principal 3-story building here and just the ground floor.
Questions?
Any other? You folks haven't seen this before. Any questions about?
Well, it's been circulated
Yeah.
electronically, so.
All right.
Yeah, it's just a change of the color.
Yeah.
We already
Yeah.
discussed
Yeah, we've
this.
seen most of this before. I didn't know if you knew the history on this one. All right. I'll entertain a motion to approve. Would someone like to go ahead with that?
Okay, first you have to do C.
Right. Seeker. I will entertain a motion to declare this a type 2 action under seeker.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. So we'll circulate the signature sheet on that, and I will now entertain a motion for approval. Would someone like to draft
Oh,
that?
did that.
Okay, thank you, Kevin.
Okay. Second, okay, we're good. I move that the commissioners present find as fact that that the painting work proposed for 39 Broadway in the Rondout Historic District by the applicant and owner, 39 Broadway LLC owner, Dutton Architecture, PLLC Act.
Not the owner.
You're not, no, you're the applicant, you're the architect.
Right.
Yeah, that's what, that was coming next, yeah. 39 Broadway LLC owner, Dutton Architecture, PLLC architect. If done according to the plans reviewed at this meeting and according to the procedures stipulated in Chapter 405-64 of the City of Kingston's Administrative Code, is compatible with the historic character of the building and the district for the following reasons. That the paint colors are from Benjamin Moore's line of exterior latex paints, that the new paint colors are to be Benjamin Moore Mascaron AF20 from the Affinity Collection, and Benjamin Moore Nightfall 1596. That the said painting work will not detract from the character of the historic district or the building, that any deviations or changes from what has been discussed at this meeting or additional work as originally proposed in the application will be subject to review by our commission before such work is carried out. That this commission's approval does not obviate the need for a building permit from the City of Kingston's Building Safety Division, and based on the preceding finding of fact, I propose to resolve that the commission grant a preservation notice of action to the above referenced owner and applicant for the painting work as described herein and its application to the commission on the 6th day of June 2019, such notice to be subject to the conditions contained in the foregoing motion.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right.
You're welcome to keep those if you intend to shred them or
You have a copy.
take them back.
You all
I'd
ready?
like a copy of the new.
I don't need them back, but if,
I took a picture, you want mine?
Yes,
You want to take my
just
whole
the
package?
AF20.
Yeah,
All right.
well, it's all one, so.
All right, thank you, Scott.
and Mark, I'm on the agenda further down the line. I'd like to officially request that that be tabled, the 301 Wall Street.
Oh, okay.
So
That
301
was the
Wall
tables.
Street, you're okay.
Yeah,
I see you-
table the tables.
Tabling the tables, okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Scott.
Do we have a sheet on that? We'll have to pass that around.
On
to you.
the trail
See
and
you next
wall.
month.
Oh,
Yeah.
we can get to that
Yeah.
after we do 104 Fair Street. You might as well take it in order. We've all heard the request.
Sign here.
All right.
Yes or no?
104 Fair Street, Mr. and Mrs. Tallerman.
And we're here at 98 Fair Street to object to the building process of the shed that's supposed to be put up
90.
right next to our property. There's supposed to be a shed and that's turned into a
Is
building.
this 104, are you, is this 104
There's
stairs?
104.
All right, so what we need to do is hear from the applicant. Thank you for registering your objection. They need to describe it to us so we understand what's
Yes.
going on. Thank you.
Sit for a chair. Okay.
You guys see the drawings?
Is that where you're looking for?
You submitted final drawings, right, John?
Yes.
This,
He's wrong.
I don't want to lose them. You can get it. Yeah. Okay.
So just to give everybody a little bit of history, we had gone to the zoning board with a sketch. We also came to historic with a sketch at the time. Everything was approved, and then
This was last year, September, I think.
right. And then we started drawing up with our architect,
Rob DuPont.
Rob DuPont. And as we were doing that, we made changes to the sketch that had been done because he felt that the proportions needed to conform better to the scale of our house, the scale of historic buildings.
Well, he thought
and-
he wanted it more in keeping with the historic district. We're in the Fair Street Historic District, so he wanted something that looked a little bit more, that fit in better, and had a little more presence or historic nature. And he had the Oculus window, which is
Added some height.
added some height, and so that happened over the course of the winter. And then we made a mistake. We thought he had submitted the revised drawings. He thought we had, so in fact, that revision of the height really was not approved. We did not, we thought he was going, he thought we were going. So what happened is the height is higher than we had originally been given permission for.
How much higher?
I believe it was 12, I don't have the original sketch, but I believe it was 12 feet, and now it's 16.75 feet.
And as you know, we've always come to historic to get approval on everything for our house. It was just completely an oversight.
Can I take a look at the drawing, please? Not sure. Okay, so was the addition of the window that made the difference? Am I following you?
Well, he made it higher. He just thought that it would.
The roof line.
Roof line.
It's the, okay, so
Yeah.
that's the shed. Giving us a higher peak. All right, so the footprint of the building has not changed.
Correct. And the building department zoning looked at that, and they said it's fine.
And the setback hasn't changed.
The setback hasn't, actually, I think we went a foot more back than we had originally.
Okay.
And Peter, do you mind sharing the pictures? Right, I emailed, these are just two examples of two garages on the same, on Fair Street, the next block, both sort of higher profile.
And the
So
placement.
these are 16 or 17 feet, or?
Probably taller.
They're taller.
Yeah. The placement of the building was dictated because we have a very large Japanese maple to the left, so we really didn't have a whole lot of wiggle room in there.
And on the other side, yeah.
You've seen that this.
The previous the original sketch was just more basic, just a box and a shorter peak, shorter roof.
Did this replace an existing structure?
No.
Was very used to this, right?
The other thing that I should bring up is that originally when we came to historic, I had submitted a paint color that was a shade of black. It's now actually, we're going to change it to match the house. Just to put that out there too.
Okay. Do we have a note on what that color was?
You have it in the record, but we can submit.
Yeah, they're custom, they were worked off of hardy board samples. So I have like the color mix on the back, you guys have it in your records. These are my own. that
Would you mind just circulating? I'll try and remember what we're looking at.
And of course, there's a
Sometimes it
picture,
doesn't
and there's a
come
picture
through.
here of what
Right.
the house looks like, so you wanna send that along with it?
Yeah, I think that would be helpful if you could do that. And we'll have to reference the earlier approval. Do you agree that it was September?
No,
Yeah, I think it was,
I think it was November 1st.
yeah.
Okay, double check if you could. That'd be great.
Did you say that this is the same color as the house?
That's the same color as the house,
And this was the trim?
that's the trim. And then the windows are black, which will be the same.
Well, there's just one window.
Oh no, the door is black.
Thank you. That's that back. She needs to get that.
These are the new colors?
Yes.
Those are the colors, yeah, those are the
The
colors.
final colors.
Yeah.
the final.
Which is the same
Which
as
is
the
the
house.
same as the house,
Yeah.
which is approved by historic.
So I think in the application, I think you had indicated was the color, it was the same colors from the previous application, am I correct?
No, the previous application was black.
Yeah.
For the,
Yeah, but this application referenced the colors in the previous application, I think,
Oh.
so we're changing it, that's what I'm saying.
We're changing
If we
it,
get to
yes.
a motion, I've got to
Yeah.
make note of that.
We're changing it.
Yeah, okay.
All right. Any further questions for the applicant? From the board?
Can I ask, so it was a garage and it's still a garage?
no, it was.
Never a garage?
There was nothing there, just land.
We didn't have
Oh.
a structure.
There was no structure.
We didn't have a garage. And it's right
And
at
it will be a
the
garage?
foot of our driveway. It's right in front of our driveway.
Yeah.
And it's stepped back like 3 feet.
And there's no plumbing, no,
And the building permit was issued before construction, there's no issue on
That's right.
those lines.
Correct.
Now, we've had one indication from someone here who would like to make a comment. The proper way to deal with that would be to decide whether or not we want to have a specific public hearing on this application. We'd have to move to make that happen. Now, our role here is really pretty limited. We're talking about colors and height. We have no power to overrule the building department's grant of a building permit. If we would like to hear from the neighbor, we're going to have to separately vote, open it, and I'm going to have to make a little preamble about how our powers here are very limited. I'm looking for a sense from the board if you'd like me to go ahead and do that, specifically in this case. What do you think? Have a yes? Anyone else? I'm tempted to. All right, then I'm going to move that we hold a public hearing on the application regarding 104 Fair Street's revision to change the design of its garage.
Which will have to take place next month. You can't do it now.
Oh,
You can't do it now.
that I didn't realize. You can't,
Has to be
Yeah.
noticed.
a public hearing must be noticed.
Has to
The
be
probably
noticed.
this, during open public comment, if the neighbors wanted to make a comment about it that could not have been part of the record, they could have done that. You also, if you want to, truncate this process, you certainly can make, an application to entertain public comment at this juncture, to reopen public comment, let them speak, but then that doesn't become part of the record with regard to this application. If you want their comments and their objections to be part of the record, you need to vote to conduct a public hearing, and that public hearing will take place next month.
That seems long involved and kind of, all right, so if I'm following the procedural point, if we are to get this done tonight, I have to reopen the public comment period that we had at the beginning,
Correct,
and specifically so state.
Yes.
right. And again,
And
it's
then,
not.
so it's open to everybody,
Right.
but, and that means anyone who had a comment on any other business before us would be expected to do it then as well.
If the board wishes to, engage in some dialogue with the neighbor, then that would have to be done at the posted public hearing next month.
Got it. All right. Then my temptation here is to go ahead with reopening the public hearing, or
Public comment.
the public comment period. Thank you. This is language that we are not used to using here, and I am still getting used to it. And allowing anyone who's interested to make a comment. Again, I will be asking that folks limit themselves to 2 or 3 minutes and address only us. It's not time for crosstalk. So, again, I'll put it to the board. What do you guys is this seem like a reasonable process to get the information, or at least?
Just need a motion in a second.
All right, then I will so move that we reopen the public comment period to allow comment at this time. And parenthetically, I think I may need to make that clearer at when I'm next running a meeting, that whoever has comments of a general nature and of anything on the
Right.
agenda, that would be the time to
Yeah.
do it. All right, so my error. I make that motion. I still need a second. Will someone second? Thank you, Hayes. All in favor? Aye. All right, so I'm going to need to throw this open to public comment one more time. I know I heard one voice back here specifically on this project. So I'll ask you to go first. If there's anyone else who needs to make a comment to the board, again, I'm going to ask you to recognize we're only talking about the increase in height and a paint color. We have no power to change an actual building permit. And you need, I believe, to understand that about our limitations. But that having been said, please,
Okay.
if we could have your
Should I
name and
speak
address
here?
for the record.
Okay. My name is Petra McFadden, and I live at 98 Fair Street and neighboring property with Don and Judy Tallerman, my grandson Will, and my daughter Robin, who we're in the process of them being co-owners of my property. So I have objection to this structure that is being put up. I was told it was going to be a shed, and here in Kingston, I believe that a shed is a small building. It has turned out to be, it's a beautiful building, colossal A-frame. It is, I think, quite pretentious for the neighborhood. But the main concern that I have is that the A-frame is so colossal, and it comes down, that the end of the A-frame roof is 11 inches from my fence, which I think is crowding the area, and I don't appreciate it being so close to my property. I think I have a right to object to it, that it shouldn't be squeezing, whatever space is allowed. Now, I know there's, Don and Judy have claimed that my fence is 1 foot over on their property, which I'm not sure about, because that fence has been in the same spot for 40 years. So I can't imagine it being 1 foot over, and it is. So I will get somebody to survey it. I know it's been surveyed by Larios and whatever the rest of their name is, but I want to get my own independent survey. And I object to the fact that this building is obtrusively encroaching whatever breathable space, and because if I don't think it's right to have a huge structure that close to the fence and that close to the entire I don't know, what am I saying? I think it's the house, yeah. They have put this building closer to my side of the property just because of the tree. So sparing, not taking the tree down, they're kind of impinging upon whatever free space I think is necessary. And I understand it's 6 feet away from the existing property line, which this building is not.
Right, but which they received a zoning variance for.
I'm sorry?
They received a zoning variance to put,
Have you seen?
Yeah. That's a different proceeding and, yeah,
They're speaking during public comment,
Yeah, you don't need to address.
After public comment, the board has further questions that they want to address during a formal public hearing. Again, it gets kicked over for next month, and it's addressed where there is discussion between the board
Okay.
and the applicant and the individuals who are contesting it, and we have a record.
And may I further say, I thought it was my understanding that whenever anything like this goes up, that a letter be sent to the neighbors around that particular area of the structure, and I received absolutely nothing. I don't know what committee is responsible for that, but I did not receive a letter that my understanding is that gives time for grievance.
Would anyone else like to make a comment during this reopened public comment period?
My comment is not about the property itself, because I don't know much about it. I'd like to say that this is rife with examples of how things really need to be, the process needs to be talked about. There is, if there was a zoning variance that should have gone to the neighbors, I think it's supposed to be a certified letter.
Yeah.
I did not come to the last 2 HLPC meetings. I hope that the HLPC, if you haven't already talked about this extreme change in process of the way the meeting runs, that you will explain it to the public in a public forum, what has changed, that we no longer have a comment period for meetings unless it sounds like it's being run like the planning board, but that's not, the HLPC has a right to decide how their meetings, the bylaws of the way their meetings run. It's in their code. So what has changed? And I hope that if there are legal things stated that as to how this runs, I hope you look at it really closely to decide objectively on whether you agree with it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank both of you. All right, are there any other further comments from the public?
I have a comment.
Hi, if you state your name
My name is Robin Martini.
and you also live
I live at 98 Fair Street.
Thank
Yes,
you.
I've lived there since 1973. How about, this is all historic, right? What is historic and going on? Is there a historic, okay, what about if you put a sprinkler system close to the sidewalks and they start spraying people as you're standing there? Does that have any historical significance? I mean, did they do that back in the days when we're trying to recreate here in Kingston? Because they put up a sprinkler system that is right at the edge of the curbs. I was standing there and I got sprayed. It was not too much fun because it was cold out. And I think it was done intentionally, but.
All right, thank you kindly.
But is there a historical? Because somebody said that there might be, that's why I was asking. It's a serious question.
I'm getting that, but this is still public comment period, so people get to talk to us. We get to talk amongst ourselves in just a bit. Thanks. All right. Anyone else? Then I'm going to declare this second public comment period closed. And thank you. And for the board, is there anything here? I'll give you my comments first. One, we don't get to decide anything about placement of this particular shed or garage, or however it was first stated and perhaps later stated. The second is we get to talk about structures. We don't get to talk about sprinklers. That's not part of, if it were part of a fence, yes. But underground, we really don't get to say much about it because it does not materially change the appearance of a property. And lastly, the limits of our power here are pretty evident to me. And I hope if you have questions, we can discuss that among ourselves. Any questions, anything else anyone wants to bring up? Different point of view?
I'm just wondering when this went to the ZBA?
I don't know, but I suspect you do.
When it did,
Yeah, I'm just.
Well, I'm sure the
fumbling through
applicants
minutes, I can't
are fully
find it.
aware when they went to the ZBA. I
Yeah,
don't-
did you handle that or did your architect?
Zoning board.
Yeah, no, we handled, but we went to get the permit, and then, went to the zoning board of appeals. I don't know the date, Kevin, I'm sorry.
And we're granted a variance.
Yes.
Okay. So, what is before us is increase in height and slight change in paint color. Any further questions on what we've got control over?
So it's going to be a motion to revise the original approval on height and paint color.
Yes.
Or is it a motion, is it a new motion referencing the previous decision?
Well, I mean, that takes us the same place either way. Is it, does it, is it
I don't have
a
the
change in
previous
this?
application or the previous determination to look at to see what specifically was approved last time.
Okay, then I think we should treat this as a
If the
new.
approval was a general, we approved the application and there weren't specifics, then technically you don't have to do anything at this point, because, the approval was, open-ended approval, open-ended approval to an application.
Don't think this was open-ended.
My
Our
recollection
tendency
is
in
we've
the past
been,
has been
Yeah.
to just issue, very brief, we are approving the application. Now, in the last couple of months, we've been more careful with regard to including the findings of fact, but I believe this application was quite a long time ago, and my recollection was that it was just a simple, we are approving the application in front of us.
okay, so.
I have it here, from November. Do you need a bigger?
That's a kindness.
I really like it. Here's where it starts.
If you look at under applicant, it doesn't say anything about height, and therefore you didn't make a decision about height.
Well, it hasn't been here. So, no.
Yeah,
So, that's the frontage.
Yeah, I
Oh,
think-
wait, 9 feet 6 inches tall. Yeah, there's the height. Here's the application, let's see if that matches up. Nine feet, 6
Okay.
inches tall.
Yeah, then you would be amending the approval that was done
Okay.
on the date that you have there.
All right, does anyone have any questions about the application to change the colors and to change the height? Any further questions for the applicant? Then I will entertain a motion to approve.
Do we need Kevin to draft something?
Kevin has If you have it in front of you, if
Well,
you're willing to move, I will yield.
Yeah, I sort of have it, but I think we probably want to add some of the language back from the previous resolution in there.
All right, I'm
The
gonna wait.
description of the house, it was very detailed.
I think we need to focus in on the garage alone, since
Yeah.
that's all that's changing.
Can we just make a motion to amend the resolution as approved in November to change
Yeah,
the building height to 16.75?
but we're also changing
And
the
the pink
colors
colors
to
too.
the hardy board cobblestone and the Benjamin Moore historic black.
Yes, that would be the simplest way to do it,
And that would hold up.
and that would suffice.
Would you like to so move?
When was the first resolution?
November 1,
November 1.
2018.
Do you need a super on this? Because we already, we did.
Well, yes, it's step 2.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'll start with that.
Okay.
I move that we declare this amended application to be a type 2 action under the State Environmental Quality Review Act. Do I have a second? All in favor? Aye.
I make a motion that we amend the approval graded November 1st, 2018 to reflect the hardy board, cobblestone, and dark gray colors presented tonight, and also to change the peak roof height from what was it, Kevin?
The dimensions of the
16.5, right?
16.75 to the peak.
To change the peak height to 16.75 feet.
Thank you.
The painting?
And the paint colors to the hardy board samples presented, cobblestone and the dark gray. You didn't have a color on
Right.
All right. We need to continue and say that based on those findings of fact that we issue a
that. The
preservation
findings
of
of fact are
fact.
in the November 1st resolution, right? So we're just amending the resolution on 2
You're
grounds.
reaffirming the preservation
Okay.
notice of action
So-
presented previously.
Reaffirm.
This is a little tricky. Thank you
Yeah,
for
yeah.
laying that out. We're not used to the terminology yet. We're getting good at it. We got that? I need a
Do you want to read
second.
it back? or-
Yeah, I'll
Yeah.
read it back and, yeah, just a second. It is moved by Commissioner Hayes Clement, seconded by Commissioner Kevin McAvoy, that the commissioners present find as fact that the revisions to the shed and garage at 104 Fair Street in the Fair Street Historic District by the applicant owners, Judith Tallerman, previously reviewed by this commission on or about November 1st, 2018, and approved to a different design, is hereby amended. And if done according to the plans reviewed at that time as amended as of date, and according to the procedures stipulated in Chapter 405-65 of the City of Kingston's Administrative Code, is compatible with the historic character of the district and of the building and the district for the following reasons. That this proposed accessory shed will not directly impact the main building on the property, an 1850 Italianate style dwelling, also known as the Wayne Kenyon House, which is listed on the National and State Register of Historic Places. That the dimensions of the shed are width 14 feet, length 24 feet, height 16.75 to the peak. That this work is causing a material change to the property. That the cladding is cedar siding painted in Benjamin Moore historic black and hardy board cobblestone. That the shed, and most of that is a repeat from the previous, so I don't know if we need to do that.
So it's not black anymore, is that okay?
Well, the window is
Okay.
Wait, I'm confused.
No, no.
Wait, let's make sure we get this right.
No,
We're
make sure
making
it's right.
the peak height and
Yeah, but the
pink
colors.
Yeah.
The colors
The
are,
black is a slightly
Hardy board
lighter
gray.
gray.
yeah, we got the hardy board cobblestone.
with
and-
the accent of the black window.
Yeah,
Right,
the
but the-
accent, Okay, accent is the black, okay.
Right.
The accent is black, okay.
But the main part is hardy board, that dark gray color. No, the dark gray color, it's not cobblestone.
What was black is now the hardy board gray.
Exactly.
There is no black?
Just around the
Just-
windows.
The black
the
is,
accent. I thought I
yeah,
saw
that's
black.
just around the window. As it is on the main
Black
house.
window accent, okay, black window accent. Main section is hardy board gray or cobblestone, because I think.
Hardy board
Gray.
gray is the main body
The
and
cobblestone is
the
the lighter,
trim.
is the much lighter color.
And where is the cobblestone? If-
On the trim.
On the trim. Okay, so I'll read that back to you. That the cladding is cedar siding painted. The main section is hardy board gray and cobblestone on the trim and Benjamin Moore historic black window accent. That the shed garage design as now constructed conforms better to the house and the historic district in terms of the compatible Victorian period design. That the said installation will not detract from the character of the historic district or the building. That any changes or deviations from what has been discussed at this meeting or additional work as originally proposed in the previous application or this application will be subject to review by our commission before such work is carried out. That this does not obviate, the commission's rule does not obviate the need for a building permit from the city's building safety division. And based on the preceding finding of fact, it is resolved that the commission hereby reaffirms a preservation notice of action to the above referenced owner applicant for the painting and work as described herein, and its application to the commission previously on November 1st of 2018 and on this date, June 6th, 2019, such notice to be subject to the conditions contained in the foregoing motion.
Thank you. And you inserted your own second in that, I noticed.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you very much.
all those in favor? Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, send that around and just basically recognize.
As to 301 Wall Street, we have had a request that it be tabled until next month. Do I have,
Move that it be tabled until the July meeting.
do I have a second for that request? Thank you. All those in favor of tabling 301 Wall Street? Aye.
Who seconded?
That would a
Robert.
yes, a brave man stepping forward into the process. All right, next 37 Broadway sign application. Is someone here on behalf of 37?
Hello, everybody.
Hi.
Tyson from Timeless Signs, representing the client. We're proposing to produce and install a hanging sign as shown in this drawing here. The rendering does make the sign look a little bit smaller than it really is, but the dimensions are accurate on here.
Julie.
I contacted my client, let them know that the city of Kingston needs to be put as a design short for this overhanging sign. They have agreed to have that. I should have that by tomorrow, actually. And this sign was approved last night at the HAC meeting, if that had been present in this.
I make a motion to declare this a
Julia Michelle.
Got it. Okay. So it's extending out over the sidewalk.
You need to join?
Over here.
Is this an existing sign?
That's an existing sign, yes. This here is the new sign.
So there'll be two signs?
Nope, same, this is nothing to do with the sign at all. It's just the sign on this property. And they don't have a sign that are existing currently, it's a new sign, a new bracket.
All right, any other questions for the applicant? All right, Hayes, you already began.
I'd like to make a motion that we declare this a type 2 action under seeker.
I'll second that. All in favor? Aye. And on the sign itself, any questions?
Do we need Kevin's?
Do you have?
Questions?
All right.
Okay, I'll make a motion. I move that the commission find as fact that the sign at 37 Broadway, the Roundup Historic District, to be installed by the applicant and owner, 39 Broadway LLC, with timely signs as representative. If done according to the plans and drawings reviewed at this meeting and according to the procedures stipulated in chapter 405-64 of the City of Kingston's Administrative Code, is compatible with the historic character of the building and the district for the following reasons. Should be that done right? Okay. That the sign is to be 36 inches wide, 36 inches high, and digitally printed HP matte overlaid on a 1/2-inch white PVC routed to shape, attached to a 42-inch scroll bracket with sign clips. Did I get that right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
That is accurate.
Okay, we're good then. That the said installation will not detract from the character of the historic district or the building, that any changes or deviations from what has been discussed at this meeting or additional work as originally proposed in this application will be subject to review by our commission before such work is carried out, that the owner shall provide an insurance certificate naming the City of Kingston as additional insured with respect to the sign, the overhanging sign. And that this commission's approval does not obviate the need for a building permit from the city's Building Safety Division. Based upon the preceding finding of fact, I propose to resolve that the commission grant a preservation notice of action to the above referenced owner applicant and its representative for the sign as described herein and in its application to this commission on the 6th day of June 2019. Such notice to be subject to the conditions contained in the foregoing motion.
Do we need to add any additional insured with the city?
Yeah, it's in there.
It's in there, yeah, I've got the additional.
Do I have a second? All those in favor? Aye.
Wonderful. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Good evening.
So, 18 Livingston Street. We have folks here on 18 Livingston.
Hello.
Evening.
Evening. Brian from Victorian Builders. I submitted to repair a front porch on Livingston. The columns were falling down and all that. And they wanted me to repair that, but in the process of repairing that, they wanted to add a little bit by adding brick columns coming up higher.
So it's a change in design.
Change in design, which we did, we pulled a permit for that, and then after he approved it, he come up and stopped me, saying it didn't meet your approval, so.
Okay, so what is the differential between old and new here? Got it.
All the woodwork will wind up being exactly the way it should be, not the way it was, because it was rotten, but.
Okay.
Photos.
Right. Okay. And so this is about, I'd say 2.5, 3 feet tall, the brick?
About 2.5 to 3 feet tall.
And it's on both corners, both exterior corners?
There's three of them across the front.
Okay. On either side of the opening to the porch and then at the far corner, am I following you?
Yes, there's one in the middle and one on the side.
Brian, how many posts are getting this brick treatment now?
All three across the front. Here's, let's see, what was there, here's what they proposed to do.
Can you clarify exactly where things are right now in terms of the work that was done up until now, if any?
All three brick columns have been redone.
Okay, so the work that you're presenting this evening is all done already, and you're basically asking for retroactive approval for what was done without the board's permission?
What is done is what you see here. We have the subframe of the wood done, because we were stopped work order on at that point. But all, the mason has got the three columns
So
completed.
all three of those columns have already been completed?
Yes, they are completed.
The wood portion also?
Well, we just have the columns there. They're not,
So that's-
they're not wrapped, they're not trimmed
When they're
out.
wrapped, is the dimension gonna be much thicker
It's
than
gonna
that?
look just like the one that's, what was there. It's just gonna be fluted and
Right. But approximately, when you look at that picture, how much further out is the wood column gonna come?
you're just gonna add 3/4 of an inch all the way around there.
Okay.
I'm curious as to why the brick was attractive to the homeowner, do you know?
The customer wanted to have, because it was brick down at this part at the bottom, they just wanted to bring it up to add a little more character to it.
Okay.
We use historic brick with it, but
Yeah, you can see just at the very base,
Right.
supporting this, looks like it comes up just above the level of the wood. Would there be a difference in weathering over time? Is, the difference in height, having the brick above, is that going to either protect the wood or make it deteriorate any faster?
actually it would make the wood last longer because what's closer to the ground usually rots first.
And could you just explain to me briefly why a building permit wasn't secured prior to the work that was done?
It's a long story, but what I did is I went in there, I says, these people have rotten columns, they need to have them addressed. I went down to the building department, they said I didn't need a permit. So I started the project, they came up and they stopped work order, and I had to go down and get a permit. I got a permit, then I went back up and did those columns just the way I proposed on the permit, and they stopped work order me again after the columns had been done. So, there was a permit.
Did you consider fiberglass columns?
No?
They look just like the original ones. Get them to look just like the original ones.
It's kind of hard to do fiberglass with, because each one of these columns has got a fluted top, and it's really difficult to do fiberglass in that.